Okay, I am going to be doing some storyboard tumblers. I have done quite a few and messed up a lot along the way. The one I'm going to be assembling today is this guy. And I'm going to show you how to seal this guy. I just have to apologize in advance because I have children and sometimes they can be loud. So, we shall see. First off, you get your cup out of the box and you unscrew the bottom and you pop the stainless steel out. There's some nice paper inside. And then typically what I do is I will take the parts and put them back in the box actually. Just put it back together like this. Put this like this and put it back in the box so that it doesn't get messed up. Because sometimes the plastic could get scratched. So then you have just your cup and I take electrical tape and just tape off this part. And then you remove that later, but this is just ready to go. You can sand it and add epoxy and add glitter. My hugest warning regarding storyboards are if you make it too thick. Like this is one of my original ones. It was super pretty, but it never fit back together. And what I mean by not fitting back together is there is some space right here. You see it on the cup? That's where this cup is touching the inside. And that's not okay because then the water takes a really long time to get down here and the glitter takes a really long time to get down here too. So I have quite a few nightmare cups that just sit here and I haven't touched them because they're obnoxious to try and fix or problem solve, and I need a super amount of patience to get there. The other thing that you can worry about when doing these is when I put this guy back together, I don't know where it is now, it's either in the liquid or it's actually in the epoxy. As the epoxy was spinning, I found one of my red hairs either stuck in there or floating around. This was supposed to be for somebody else, but then this became mine. Because yeah, there's totally a hair in there and I can't sell that or give that to anybody. This is one of my ones that was actually successful, despite the fact that it's like super chunky on the bottom. I was still trying to problem solve, trying to figure out how to put them all back together. So pretty much I added the chunky at the top and the chunky at the bottom to cover up the ugly that I made, because of the fact of, I mean, it looks okay, but that's not what I intended for it to do. So then there's other ones that I tried to fix with chunky and I went really overboard, and I just need to sand it down to clear it off and try again. And then this one, I'm still not sure if the seal is good or not. This is one of those UV ones, so I really want to make sure that it's decent before I go on to the next step, and then I have to like cover up the ugly there as well. This is one of my most recent ones. I haven't epoxied it entirely yet. I just seal it together, so hopefully we'll have a success with this one when I'm finished with the whole epoxying step. So don't make your epoxy too thick. Don't go overboard on designs. This one is actually my first fabric cup that I did, and I'm just going to add paw prints in there today. But the one thing that you definitely need to watch for is when you seal it. I used this, and I also used this Gorilla one in the past, but when I went to try and use the Gorilla one today, it's totally hard because I apparently didn't put the lid on right. So you gotta watch for that. But this one I have had a lot of success with. The only thing is you don't want to go straight in and add glitter, because if you add glitter and your silicone is still anything tacky or anything, the glitter will stick to it. So I add my liquid before I add my glitter. Let me readjust my camera a little bit here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, get that guy out of the way. And so pretty much I went through and I sealed this one earlier. The steps, you take your blank cup, you glitter it, you epoxy it, make it smooth, but don't go overboard on your epoxy coats. Then it gets to this point, then you decal it. Again, don't go overboard on your epoxy because you won't be able to stick it back together. This one it back together and it ended up busting off the bottom part. So this is just my reminder to myself to take it easy. So we are going to add the liquid to this one today, and hopefully it holds the liquid. Now I've seen ones where people have done baby oil. In fact, I think some of my earlier ones are baby oil. I just prefer the glycerin for the flow of the glitter. So what I do with the glycerin is 1 part glycerin and 1 part water. So because I don't know how much each cup takes, because I have different sizes and stuff. There's a little star in there. What I do is I'll just take one of my little medicine cups. Ooh. That one was still had liquid in it. And I'll do half and half. This is the end of one of my glycerin bottles, so gotta get the next one open. Oh, and you can get these at Walmart in the Band-Aid aisle. And one of these bottles lasted me at least, like, I want to say 4 cups now, because you do half of this. The cup that I'm currently working on is a 16 ouncer that I got from some girl in one of the other groups I was in, and she was selling 16 ounce ones. I don't even know anything about them except for that they are a little bit different than the hog ones. They have a rubber gasket on the inside and it helps it, but you still have to seal everything together. So I just did 30 milliliters of glycerin, and I'm going to do 30 of water and then mix it. You'll notice that it's cloudy when you put them together. Once it turns clear again, then you're good to dump it into your cup. The only reason I switched over to glycerin was because I did the Walking Dead cup that I needed to dye the glycerin red so that it looked like blood. So pretty much you just mix it, it's all clear, it looks like water, and here we go. And if I sealed it okay earlier, it won't leak. So right now it is filled up to here. I tried to get it up at least to the tippy top. There is this little hole in here that I worried about before, like, oh no, water getting in it. No, it's fine. So all you're gonna do is mix up a little bit more. It's my empty one. I think I'll just do 10 and 10. Sometimes you do it right in the medicine cup too. So this way you can see the cloudy stuff. It kind of gets cloudy, and then once you stir it enough, it should clear up. Now another thing that I have failed miserably at with these is I have tried using glitter that is a little finer, and I used fine glitter, well, not fine, but it was like a mix inside. You don't want to do mixes just because the really fine pieces really kind of don't let it flow as nice as it should. And I'm gonna need just a little bit more because we're almost there, but we need just a little more. And stirring this. And then I'm gonna just add my glitter in. when I first started these, I was told you want to leave about the width of a quarter in there. After I get it all figured out, then I go back in and I seal it, but I don't seal it until I know for sure that what I have going is good. So I'm gonna go for this. Just add in some puppy paw prints. Hopefully they sink in there and will work. Oh no. And they're just gonna stick and float at the top, apparently. So, I'll do this the other way. Just put this guy on. Yes, it will leak out as you tighten it down. That's fine. And this is just how I have to get our little puppy paw prints in. Okay, apparently this is just gonna fight me. We got like one visible paw print. One. Yes, you have to epoxy everything because you don't want the water glycerin mix to touch your glitter or any kind of decal or anything like that. So you want to create an epoxied surface for that. Alright, so because I have the attention span of a fly, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Oh look, now we're getting it. To the next part, which is the sealing part. And this one is a Scooby cup that I'm making for my daughter. Her birthday's next week. And so pretty much when you put your cup together, you are going to need all your pieces except for your lid, of course. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need your silicone. You're going to definitely need a popsicle stick. And sorry, I just found some more puppy paw prints. So then what you do is I have the tip cut here. As you use this over time, it might get gummed up in here, and so you might have to play with it a little bit, but this will be all right. What you do is you just start at the base and you squeeze the silicone in this little tiny ridge. It's totally fighting me. Alright, so because I need to get more, this isn't going to work right now. But anyhow, you do a nice, really thick goopiness around here. And you actually take your popsicle stick and you shove it down in there. And then sometimes I go back around and shove even more in. And then you put this guy on and you put your lid on. Now I'm going to pull this apart then just because I need to get more silicone. I don't want that one area to stick. But then you just push down. It takes a little bit to get it to lock into place. And then you put your lid on to really tighten the seal down. And then you would just leave it like this. For this one, you're allowed to add water after 3 hours. So what I did was probably right around the 3 hour mark, I actually took the base off, this part off, so that the fumes could come out and breathe. And then, so then you're pretty much to the point where I'm at here with this cup. And then once you get everything together, and it's not leaking here. If it is leaking here, you're just going to have to take your hot glue gun and you're just going to have to just run hot glue along here, or you could use your silicone. I've actually found the silicone works better than the hot glue. So pretty much you just run that around the outside rim, and then if you have to, then you add chunky glitter. but I usually just add the chunky glitter when I'm epoxying it all. The glycerin ratio is 1 part water, 1 part glycerin, and I just kind of use a medicine cup and do a little bit, like either 30 milliliters or 15 milliliters or something like that at a time, and then I fill it up and just refill until the cup's full, which this is actually a good one. There's glaze. This one's a good one because there's not as much of a water gap. This one, same cup, huge water gap, but I really think that this epoxy thickness thing here really affected it. Like, I think it ruined it, honestly. So I think that's, I'm gonna have to go. But I will gladly answer any kind of questions that you guys might have. Sorry, I ran out of my silicone, and that's pretty much gonna be it for now. But, oh, one more thing. I forgot. I told you when I seal it, I run a bead of this along the inner lining here. So when you twist it together, it will smudge out some here, and then you just take your paper towel and wipe it, and then just let it sit. I let mine sit upside down so that it doesn't get a whole lot of water touching it until it cures or whatever. And then I'll probably epoxy this, like the whole deal, even with this little random foam thing on it, probably tomorrow or so after the silicone has set up. There's one other thing. Oh, where I get these from, these are Hogs, and but the 16-ounce ones I got somewhere else, like from a personal sale. These come from Stainless Steel Depot. They do not have the rubber gasket, and they do have this little tiny hole that I want to say maybe like once I was able to do it. They claim that you can pull off the stainless part, so if you wanted to be able to fill it a little fuller, you would have this little hole that you could use a little tiny syringe and fill more water in. But I honestly haven't had much success removing the stainless steel from the plastic and not injuring the cup or myself. So I just kind of let it go and just hope for the best. But yeah, the water levels bother me sometimes. The one that bothered me the most was this guy right here. But pretty much I think that this guy's going to be a success, and I will post something later with Scooby, hopefully, once I get that figured out. But other than that, I'm gonna jump off and handle the kids. Thanks, guys.